All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. And thank you for taking your coffee break with us. I'm Sarah Ng, and I'm a career coach for women in tech and run Authentic, which is a group program for women who are several years into their tech career and are like, wait a minute, I want to find a career that actually energizes me and speaks to who I am. And hey, how was your day? It's a coffee break series with a fascinating woman in tech like Olivia, who is living authentically. And we get a glimpse into a day in her past, her present, and her future. And so this is Olivia Crusoe, who is a lead software engineer at REI based in Seattle and has a love of powerlifting, which actually you do competitively. I was reading, it's so interesting. And we're going to talk about all the things about engineering, about powerlifting, about strength. And I don't want to give it all away, but starting with a day in your past, I'd love for you to open up with that and like talk a little bit about how old you were and like what that day is.
Sure. Um, I think I'm gonna pick like middle school age. So, what would that be like maybe 11 to 14?
Yeah.
I I was um just starting to use MySpace, I think, and got really into like editing the HTML to make my own custom pages, which is maybe
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
how
yeah.
my interest in computers really started. So, thank you, MySpace. Um, almost every day, if not every other day, I was probably going to soccer practice after school or maybe after dinner. I've always been, like, as a child through college, very involved in soccer, and I've always been very competitive, which may explain why I'm powerlifting now. But yeah, just was already getting into computers at a young age, and was already really enjoying just like being able to express myself physically through sport. Um,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah. How did you, I'm thinking about those days of MySpace, the top eight. I didn't even know that you could customize the HTML. I know you could like pick a song, I think. I
Yeah.
think is what were you customizing and how did you know to do that?
So I don't even remember exactly how I found it out, but I think I had just started like clicking every button that you could click on like MySpace, like the MySpace edit your page. And I started realizing that you could inject your own HTML to kind of make your custom background. A lot of people chose to like copy and paste those HTML blurbs that were created by other like
Mm,
artists that had all the GIFs and all the glitter. Um, and mine were much more rudimentary than that. But I was like, oh, I can use Flickr to host my own images and I can start building my own like MySpace layouts. And
truly.
after that, I was just obsessed. I was like, this is all my own. It's not great. It's not as cool as people who are probably doing like design, web design professionally and then uploading these for people to use for free. But I was just like so enamored with that. I could have control over my own space online.
Yeah.
And really, really liked it.
Now I'm thinking about like all of the internet spaces I inhabited and like I wonder if I could have customized Tumblr. Like I just took it for granted that here were the templates. I could choose like a few things, but maybe I should have just clicked all the buttons and then been able to customize and carve out my own space. It's
Yeah,
super
I
cool.
admittedly I did spend time on Tumblr, but most I was never like had a Tumblr account, so I don't know a lot about it. But I lurked on that site a lot because there are a lot of cool artists and authors that started there.
Yeah. Yeah. What you're saying like makes me very nostalgic for like this really creative, like you said, like glittery time of the internet.
I know sometimes I wish I could look at my old MySpace because I'm curious, like,
Mm,
what did it look like the last time I used it? Because I don't even remember. And what like photos did I have with friends or whose wall was I posting a message on? Like, it would be like an
yeah.
interesting jump back in time.
Yeah. And also, like, when did we decide to, okay, this is the last time I'm going to visit MySpace. Now I'm on a
Oh
Facebook.
no. Yep.
We just
Yeah. Like
decided, okay, it's over now.
we're all migrating. Yeah.
We're migrating. Yeah. Okay. And you're doing soccer. And I noticed, is that shirt a Mariners t-shirt?
This is actually just
Oh,
a
no, it's
Girls Who
not.
Powerlift t-shirt. I just wanted
Cool.
to represent the sport today, and represent another like female brand in powerlifting. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad we like called it out. Okay, so you were doing soccer. This was like at 11 years old ish. And where were
hmm
you?
So I grew up in northern Michigan and I stayed in Michigan until I was done with college. I I did play on a travel team, so occasionally we would be traveling to like a few other towns in northern or maybe central Michigan. Um, our seasons were limited to like spring, summer, fall, because in the winter there's way too much snow. Like you won't see the field for a
Yeah.
good 3, 4 months in the winter. And yeah, I was just practicing at like a public like soccer field setting in northern Michigan, and like my parents would drive me down there. And actually, for a while there, my dad was my soccer coach, which I'm really
Mm,
thankful for because I got to spend a lot of time with him growing up that way. So yeah, we'd be like having dinner together, going to practice, running around, kicking the ball around, and then going home.
yeah. Oh, your dad was your soccer coach. Okay. And did you start to notice this? Like, how did it show up actually that you're competitive?
I so I started playing soccer when I'm trying to think of like what the minimum age is for like a
Mm,
recreational league, maybe 4.
wow,
And
young.
I I don't know. My parents just said it seemed like I knew what I wanted to do, and that was score goals. So I think it started pretty young.
There was a mission, there was literally a goal, and you're like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go after it.
Yes.
Was that it?
Yes.
Did you start it for?
Yeah, I started playing soccer like just for like a
Whoa.
little summer recreational league at age 4 because that's like the earliest you can sign up. But then as I got older, around age 10, I want to say, I was asked to join a travel team. Not like that I was scouted
Mhm.
out or anything. It's that um, the girls team had just started in my hometown. And it
Mm,
was actually U16 league, and there weren't enough players in that 14 to 16 age bracket to fill it out. So they
mm,
started
mhm.
grabbing like very young players, like just to get them the
Huh.
experience. So I was playing against people in my travel team that were like 4 to 5 years older than me when I started, which
Wow.
ended up being, it didn't feel fun when I started because, like, obviously we were losing a lot because we were very little. But it ended up benefiting me in the long run because then when I was finally playing against people my age,
Mm.
I was, and other people that I played with were pretty advanced in their skills. So,
Yeah, you're like, oh, they're the same size as me. They're like towering over in high
yeah,
school. And I'm all this like,
exactly.
okay. And I think there's probably some breadcrumbs here with the MySpace and the hacking and then the competitiveness in sports and like movement. Tell us about your present day. Like, what is that like?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I'm a lead engineer at REI. Actually, just yesterday was my 5-year anniversary here. So,
Five
that was kind of
years.
exciting. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. So I like to start my days very early. I'm lucky to work in a company that allows for like a flexible working time as long as you're present for
Mm,
core hours. I like to start my day at 7 a.m. Get generally as much like engineering or focused time as I can in the morning before we have our stand up around 9 a.m. And from there, my day may be like a series of meetings or collaborating with the engineers on my team to make sure they understand the work they're doing or help them come up with ideas. Um,
mm,
Occasionally after that 9 a.m. window, I do have my own engineering time, but really a lot of my focus lately has been like on mentoring others and pushing other projects forward. And then after my work day ends, I'll have a snack, go to the gym and lift weights. I
yeah.
have a pretty good community at the gym I work out at, so I'm always excited to see my friends there. And then work out anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, which can seem daunting,
Wow.
just
Yeah, amazing.
depending on what my training is that day. And then go home, have dinner, chill out.
Yeah. Okay, this is a full day because also you're, like you mentioned, you're a tech lead, which means I mean it's a different role for many companies, but just to cover it, like it's also you're like you said, you're partnering with people, collaborating with them, unblocking people, road mapping out projects. Like you wear so many hats.
Yes, admittedly, while I am at the gym, I usually still do have my company phone on me just in case like
Mm,
someone has a quick question they want to ask me, even because even though it's my after hours, it may not be their after hours. And I
mm.
really don't mind like answering questions really quickly in Slack. Um, I've even like triaged some incidents while I've been working out.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's maybe a little funny to say, but uh, because powerlifting requires like that you take a few minutes rest between your exercises, like it's often pretty easy for me to just respond to a message while I'm at the gym. So I really don't mind it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I can picture, okay, I have like 2 minutes to rest after like this set. And okay, like what do we got? What are we investigating? What did the logs say?
Yes,
And doing
yeah.
that.
And when you start to get into like your really heavy weights, sometimes you're
Mm.
taking like 5, 8, 10 minute breaks because you want to make sure that when
Oh
you hit like
wow.
your heaviest weight for the day, you're like fully recovered. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm chilling. I'm just listening to music. Let me see if I can help anybody really quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, this is so interesting. So actually, let's bird's eye view of what is powerlifting for people who don't know what it is.
Sure. Powerlifting is a strength sport. When you compete in powerlifting, the competition consists of three lifts: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift, always in that order. And
Mm,
you get 3 attempts at each lift. So your goal is to put up like the highest combined total of your three lifts. So like the winner is decided like per weight class based on who has the highest total. Yeah,
cool. Okay. And how, so many questions. How did you get into it? How do you train for it? Let's start with the first thing of how long have you been doing it for?
my first powerlifting meet was in December of 2016.
Mm,
I was actually doing bodybuilding for a little bit my last year of college.
cool.
And I had a very good coach. He was super supportive. He noticed a few months in that I was actually very attracted to the strength gains of lifting. And once I hit my first like double body weight deadlift, he was like, "You should really try a powerlifting meet." And I was like, "Okay, what do I got to do?" So he helped me find one. I got signed up for a little local meet that was called a push-pull meet, which is actually only bench and deadlift, so no squatting at that one. But
Mm,
it was a good first step for me. I was a junior at that time, which means I was like age 23 or under. Um, and I did my first meet. At my first meet, I set a deadlift national record, and from there I was hooked. I was
wow.
like, this is what I want to do, maybe for the rest of my life. It was a really good energy. The powerlifting community is very supportive, and I found for me that it just makes me want to keep being better at it. So yeah.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned like when we first messaged that there's some similarities with engineering, and I'd be so curious to hear about those things.
Sure. One thing I've found to be similar between engineering and powerlifting is the usefulness of finding a good coach or mentor.
Mm,
We often like to think that we have to stand alone and learn alone and kind of know everything ourselves, but actually powerlifting, and I've always worked with a coach since I started weightlifting,
mm.
has kind of made me feel a little more comfortable, like asking other people for help in engineering or understanding that I don't need to know it all to be considered like a competent engineer. I can ask people for help or ask for guidance or bounce my ideas off someone else, and they're usually happy to help and happy to see me grow. I would also say, especially for women in engineering and powerlifting, one thing I've learned is that you belong, regardless of
Mm,
what level you're at. I've experienced a lot of like uh, like, oh, I'm not as good as these lifters, so um, maybe I don't belong here, or I don't know everything I need to know in terms of like all the technology tools used at my job. Maybe I'm not as good of an engineer as I think I am. Imposter syndrome, that's the word.
totally.
That's
Yeah.
the phrase.
Yeah.
But really, it's okay. If you're just starting with an empty barbell to learn how to lift, that's okay. You belong. Really, it's about, do you want to be better? Do you want to learn? And if that's the case, then you should be in the gym or you should be in technology.
Yeah. I can tell how you put a lot of thought into that, which I really appreciate. And I can see it.
Thanks.
Okay, so it's the similarities are, I mean, I think there's probably even more, is getting that support and like knowing when to ask for help. And even in those situations, like a coach or a senior, doesn't need to be a senior engineer, another engineer can really, or a product manager can really help like unblock in those
Yes.
situations. And it's okay to ask for help. Like I remember as a junior or even mid-level engineer, even when I was a senior, of I'd be like, oh, I'll wait till that person looks less busy and then I'll speak up and like ask them for help on this like piece of code to pair on. When it's so much easier to be like, oh, it's actually this niche thing that only this one person knows. So it's better to like ask for help earlier.
Yes. And even at my current job, that is often a question we ask in interviews is, what do you
Hmm.
do when you're stuck? Because we
Mm,
would we would rather people say like, um, we'd rather people not say like, I spin my wheels on it for 3 days and I don't say anything, right?
of course. Yeah.
Um, I really encourage my engineers to like ask the subject matter expert if they know who it is, as soon as they feel it's appropriate, like once they've gathered all the information that they can. And then always, if they don't know who to go to, they can always come to me and I
Mm,
can help point them in the right direction. And I found like even as a lead now, I'm still asking like solutions architects or other engineers, like who's the best person to ask about this technology or this process? And that's okay.
yeah, resourcefulness is part
Yes.
of it. Whether it's Google, now it's Chat GPT or other people about
Yeah.
how do I find out about this? And belonging. I like that part where you said even if it's an empty barbell, it's more about like a willingness or like an interest, a curiosity about learning more about it.
Yes, absolutely. Because, especially I feel like powerlifting has become more popular as like social media has become more popular.
Mm,
And so you see all these lifters lifting crazy heavy weights, and it can feel very like, oh, I'm never going to be that good. And I guess my question is like, does it matter? Like, if you're just trying to improve yourself, then you don't need to compare yourself to everyone you see on social media. Um,
yeah.
because truly, when I've been happiest is when I've like made my own improvements and not like compared those to
Mm.
other lifters. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do some weightlifting. Not, oh, here I am. I'm like, not like you comparing, but
ooh,
it's so fun to track it and see progress and be like, oh, okay, I didn't sleep all tonight. So being more in tune with our bodies. And then,
absolutely.
yeah, to see practice and feel like so strong. It's such like a empowering feeling.
Absolutely. Yes. It's a lot of fun. And it has definitely like given me more confidence both in work and in my
Mm,
hobby. So
yeah. Yeah. And how you mentioned you have training, like, do you have an assigned program that you do is it every day that you practice?
I train 4 to 5 days a week, kind of depending on where I'm at, like how close to a competition I am.
Mm,
I have a coach who writes a program for me, usually like weekly. And then small adjustments are made week after week. And then after a few weeks, that program will change to something new to like target a new weakness or a new potential like strength area, maybe is a better way to put it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I come in with a plan every day that I train. I don't train every day because it is important to rest, especially when lifting heavy weights. Like good sleep and active recovery days are very critical. So
Yeah. And what is the snack that you eat before training? You mentioned you do that. You make sure to have that.
yes, so I just have an apple. Um,
Okay.
my in-laws own an apple orchard, so I've always kind of
What?
just had a lot. I just really like them, right? It's a good carb. It's a little bit hydrating because there's like a lot of water in an apple. And it sits well on my stomach, which is really like the most important thing for if you're gonna lift. You don't want your tummy to hurt. So I just grab an apple.
And these are apples from your in-laws' orchard?
They used to be. My in-laws, so because I'm in Washington now and my in-laws are in
Mhm.
Michigan, I unfortunately can't
Mm.
get a year's supply. They are kind enough, like in the fall, to send me a box or two. So mostly just apples from the store, but I'm always really thankful when I can get theirs because I do think they taste better.
I love this fun fact that like we just happened to uncover. That's so cool. And must be like really good around fall time with the apple pie and stuff.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Oh,
I feel like Seattle has pretty good apples, but probably not nothing in comparison.
yeah, I think part of it is probably just me wanting that taste of home, and
Yeah.
knowing that like the apples I get from my in-laws' orchard were picked ripe instead of like pre-ripe so that they can sit
Mm,
on the shelf longer. I'm sure that
yeah.
all goes into it, but yeah, Washington, huge apple crop out here. I should probably actually go and visit more local farmers now that I'm thinking about it.
Next time, or when is apple season like in the fall sometime,
Yeah, it's
I
usually
think.
like late August to maybe end of
Okay.
October, kind of depending on the variety.
Yeah, it's not what I expected to talk. Probably you either. What
No,
we're
but
expecting to talk about, which
not
is
at
the
all.
magic of it. All right. Olivia, what about your future day? Like, let's fast forward to where are you and how old are you?
Oh boy.
Uh,
Let's see. Let's go maybe 10 years in the future. Um, I I hope to still be powerlifting, or if I'm not, I hope to be like potentially coaching powerlifting or helping people get into the sport somehow. Whether that's like at a high school level or individuals who are like maybe contacting for remote coaching. I just think I would like to be able to give back some way. Um,
yeah.
I I hope I'm still engineering. I've definitely had that like mental battle between do I want to go the management route? Do I want to stay
Mm,
technical? And every time I really think about leaving the code, it makes me a little bit sad. So
hmm
I can see myself still in a technical role. A principal engineer or maybe like a staff engineer would kind of be like my dream. But yeah, I just can't see myself leaving the code. I just like the creative kind of ability that writing code offers. So
Yeah. Actually, this is really great to speak on because this comes up so much. And I know, like for me, when I was deciding IC or EM, and it was a traditional EM role in that it wasn't like 20% coding and then you're gonna be in meetings and doing like roadmaps. It was okay, purely like the people management aspect of it. And so I wonder for you, because I think this comes up a lot, like when you say, oh, it would make me sad to leave the code. What is that aspect? You mentioned a bit about creativity.
so I think just problem solving allows for some creativity when you're
Mhm.
writing new features or maybe even having to solve bugs or even mitigate issues in production. Um, I I like being involved in like the creation of a fix or the creation of a new feature. Um, uh, seeing seeing your feature go live for me has always like felt like a huge accomplishment. And while I definitely do enjoy like supporting a team, and kind of creating the culture of my team, I just can't imagine doing that and not still like being a contributor to our code bases. So when I think about like um, being able to solve problems
Yeah.
and um, you know, doing it at the people level, like I do enjoy it, but like doing it at the code and technology level, like I really, really enjoy it. It makes me feel very accomplished.
Yeah. I love how much of what you're doing right now is carrying over. It's almost like just a small step, really. Like in 10 years, what you're doing, like you're already doing the stuff that you really enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, it's it's just mainly I have to keep my mind open to learning new things. Technology is constantly
Mm.
changing. And also with powerlifting, like new research comes out probably every
Mm.
day. And so really it's just like as long as I kind of keep the mentality that I'll always be willing to learn, like I hope I'll succeed.
Yeah. I mean, you're already succeeding. You will succeed. Keep succeeding.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's really, of course. That's really interesting that there's more when you said more research about powerlifting, what is what are the new things that like you have to stay on top of?
So this is where having a coach is really helpful because
Mm.
often they are the ones that are kind of like tracking research as it comes out around like strength training.
Mm.
So I can't like speak as an expert to all the research that comes out around strength, but even I think like training protocols that were popular in the 1980s have been completely
Mm.
refuted today.
Yeah.
So like just using that as an example, uh, like new research is constantly coming out about like the optimal way to train for strength, or optimal nutrition to maintain strength. So um, I'm definitely a big reason why I have a coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I can see the parallels with tech of, okay, there's this practice that we thought was heavily lauded, like this is the way to do it. And then new things come out and suddenly everyone's using React.
Yep,
It's like
exactly.
ubiquitous. Yeah. Okay. And then when is your next competition so we can all cheer you on?
Oh boy. So I am signed up for a competition called the American Pro. It is in November. I believe it is the weekend of I'm gonna look at my calendar really quick. The
Yeah.
8th, that Friday, I think is when I'm competing.
Friday the
So
8th.
yes, I'm still waiting to hear. So I'll find out in August if I've been accepted into the meet. Because it's a pro meet, there's like a limited number
Wow.
of spaces available. This is my first one that I've signed up for. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Once I know for sure, I'll probably post it all over social media that I'm actually in. But that is the one I am targeting, and I'm very excited.
Yeah. American pro weightlifting or
Uh,
powerlifting? Or called
yeah, the
American Pro.
American. It's just called the American Pro, but it is, yeah, like a pro
Cool.
powerlifting meet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all have our fingers crossed. Thankfully, it's in August that you'll find out. And then where
Hmm.
can people like celebrate when you're posting it all over? Where can they follow along and celebrate with you or connect with you?
Sure. I am on Instagram mainly. My Instagram is the Olivia Mac. So and then OLIVIAMAC. I That's like the main like public platform that I use. But then from like an engineering or technology perspective, I also welcome connections on LinkedIn, Olivia Crusoe. Yeah, so
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing it. It actually just reminded me, I was thinking about how I've talked previously about like I used to scuba dive and the similarities between engineering. And it's so interesting to hear, like the juxtapositions of like doing all these really interesting, seemingly niche things. Turns out there's like a big following of all these things. And then comparing it to engineering and seeing there's cross training, there's similarities and things that I can like tie in and improve both facets.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for being on Hey, how was your day? Oops. That will. Thank you for being on Hey, how was your day? And um, I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate you as well.
Aw. All right. See you.
Bye.